Yep, go ahead. Is he coming today or no?
And I don't think Chandler.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay.
I didn't get it in advance. You didn't get it in advance. He's being groundwork. Let me know when the meeting starts. That's exactly.
Okay. Special Commission meeting, 7 o'clock PM, Thursday, December 12th, 2024. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Here.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Here.
Vice Mayor Morissette?
Here.
Mayor Mohammed?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any deletions or withdrawals to the agenda? If not, I will take public comments related to agenda items, good and welfare.
My name is Michael Pizzi. My office is located.
Hold on.
Oh.
There is no microphone.
My name is Michael Pizzi. I'm an attorney. My law office is located at 6625 Miami Lakes Drive, and I represent Commissioner Jeffrey Jacobs. And I want to note for the record that we had asked for a postponement of this hearing to be advised as to what the procedures were, and so that Mr. Jacobs could have discovery and full due process. We sent an email to the town, Mr. Gorin's office, telling them that we should get advance notice of the procedures, we should have discovery, depositions, due process, the ability to present witnesses, the ability to cross-examine witnesses, because that's the fundamental due process Commissioner Jacobs is entitled to. And I was very surprised, actually not surprised, to be handed this at 7:04, 4 minutes after the meeting was to begin, handed a document entitled Censure Procedures that's nowhere in the city charter, nowhere in the town ordinances, and was not given to Mr. Jacobs prior to the hearing or to myself. I think it's utterly disgraceful for anybody who values due process that after we asked for the procedures, asked for a continuance so we could have due process and discovery, because we could find no procedures online. If you go online right now to the city charter, the city code, there are no procedures outlining what his rights are and how this is going to go forward. As an attorney, you know, we prepare for these things. We don't just and if someone is going to have any commissioner, any human being, you know, who's going to go through any proceeding where they're going to have their reputation sullied and smeared and be threatened with removal, I'm not sure what process is due, but it certainly is not the right thing to do to draft the procedures at the direction of the mayor. So the mayor emails or calls the attorney the night before this proceeding and says, you know what? We don't have any procedures. What's the process? So then literally the meeting's supposed to start at 7, and at 7:04, 4 minutes after the meeting was supposed to start, not me, you would think if I emailed them they would have emailed me, they know him as a lawyer, and said, okay, here, Mr. Pizzi, here's the process for tonight's meeting, here's the procedures, you have the right to call witnesses, all of that stuff. We would have brought witnesses here. We would have had witnesses here. Had we gotten this even yesterday, we would have brought witnesses here. We would have come prepared for that. But instead, we get this at 7:04, a document I have not even read that says censure procedures. And with all due respect, I've never walked into any setting, the Florida Senate, a courtroom, an administrative proceeding, a code violation, no less when somebody's reputation is on the line, and when you're asking the governor to remove them from office and take away the property rights, where their attorney never gets the process, and they're handed the censure procedures 4 minutes after the hearing started, and it talks about the presentation of evidence. Here it is. The commissioner can inquire that that he can present witnesses. The first time we're reading any of this is right now. I would respectfully request, and when you are dealing with people who are not your favorite person, someone accused of something, that's the time when great leaders show leadership and show a profile and courage and do the right thing. I don't think it's right that we were given these procedures 4 minutes after the meeting started. I am asking that this meeting be continued and deferred so that we can digest these procedures, have an opportunity to confer with your city attorney, and indicate that we don't think it's fair, that we think we should be allowed to do additional things. So I would ask that this proceeding be continued so that we will have an opportunity to digest the procedures, take advantage of the procedures, or confer with your city attorney's office about whether or not we think the procedures are proper or whether or not we think that they constitute due process. To force him to go forward is, it exposes the city to even greater liability. So I'm asking for a continuance for two reasons, either to give us a chance to honor our request to take discovery, take depositions, do requests for productions, get copies of the evidence before the hearing. We've received no production of documents. He's been given no exhibits prior to this hearing in terms of what's going to be introduced or not introduced. Prior to getting this, we were never told we had the right to present evidence or witnesses. And if you're not going to allow the due process required, at a minimum, we would ask that you defer this so we could digest the procedures and file any objections with the city attorney and confer with him. And before we do that, I want to note something. I want to make, and then we'll be here. So we object to this going forward. We hope someone will have the courage to move to continue this matter for the reasons we entered, and not for due process rights, and not to expose the city to unneeded liability. And I would urge the city attorney, in light of the fact that I just got this, and he's a friend, and I have nothing but great respect for this. Your city attorneys, he's a great city attorney. He's well respected, always, including by me. I consider him a friend and a colleague. I apologize if I'm a little upset at him, but I'm just a little annoyed because I'm representing a client's due process rights, and I just got this. And I would hope that your city attorney would urge you to continue this so we can get a chance to digest the procedures and come prepared and discuss them with him. I want to make one more announcement before I would note, by the way, that, and I want to give this to the clerk if I could. Madam Clerk, are you here? I want to note to all the commissioners and to the city attorney and to the town manager that on December 6th, 2024, on behalf of Commissioner Jacobs, a lawsuit was filed against Mayor Mohammed and the entire town of Pembroke Park for abuse of process, malicious prosecution, violations of due process, and violations of his First Amendment right. So it's important, Mr. Gorin and Mr. Manager, that the town of Pembroke Park has been sued for millions of dollars. Mayor Mohammed's been sued for millions of dollars on the grounds of malicious prosecution, abusive process, unrelenting persecution of Mr. Jacobs, and violation of his First Amendment rights. And I would note that this entire censure process is named as one of the elements and one of the basis for our malicious prosecution, abusive process, and our First Amendment, federal First Amendment and due process challenges. So this lawsuit, which is suing the mayor and the city for millions of dollars, this entire censure proceeding is listed as one of the main exhibits in terms of his violation of his due process rights. And we reserve the right, and we absolutely, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Manager, we absolutely will be amending this lawsuit to add additional city officials and additional city individuals who take part in these types of things. I would respectfully suggest that perhaps your attorneys would advise the manager and the commission. It might be a good idea that it would be really, really foolhardy. It would really be foolhardy and irresponsible in light of this lawsuit and in light of our concerns with the due process to just recklessly go forward with this proceeding tonight, to pass this useless censure measure, slander him, to go forward with this, and put the entire town and everybody at risk of substantial liability. It would really, really be irresponsible not to continue this for the due process reasons we raised tonight. And in the face of this lawsuit, which you have not even digested yet, and that talks about this censure proceeding being a violation of his rights, to just recklessly go forward tonight and expose everybody to liability without digesting this and maybe having an executive session and getting advice from your excellent outstanding counsel, who's a friend and a colleague and is a brilliant municipal lawyer. To not have an executive session and get advice from your attorney after reading the lawsuit about the extent to which going forward with this proceeding could expose each of you individually to liability and the city as a whole.
Mr.
That would
President,
be
may I ask
responsible.
you a question?
Yeah, sure.
I'm noticing this is something that hasn't gone to court yet, I'm assuming, right?
I'm sorry?
This is not something that's happened yet, it's going to happen.
No. This was filed, if you look at the top of this was filed on December 6th.
Okay.
And we reserve the right to amend it tomorrow, in part based upon what happens tonight with our
In
request.
retaliation, you're going to amend this?
No, hang on a second. No, sir,
That's what it sounds
yeah,
like.
we just choose your words carefully. What I'm saying is we would amend it if people continue to violate his due process rights. We're not going to amend it in retaliation. The retaliation is what's happening tonight for his First Amendment rights. We reserve the right to amend it in order to hold anyone accountable that continues to discriminate against him and violate his First Amendment rights, and to continue this process of maliciously persecuting him. Yeah.
I don't think First Amendment rights cover threatening people. My life was threatened. My home was threatened. My wife was threatened. I can't stand by and just have somebody do that.
Yeah. Well, did you call the police?
I did. I made a police report.
Well, you know what? All of that's false. That's a false allegation, and that's
It's not a
slander.
false allegation. It happened.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to debate with you. That's not why I'm here tonight, though I will be cross-examining you later, if given the opportunity. Here's my request, and I would note something. I want to make one more point, which is important, and that is the following.
You're complaining about not having this.
Yeah.
And now you're bringing this up.
Yeah, that's right, but here's what I'm doing. Unlike what you're doing is.
Okay, may I ask you are fully aware that your client has been through this process before? It's not the first time he's been censored, so you're aware that he knows the process?
I'm aware of the history. And I want to make one more point, and then I'll conclude. The difference is the following. I'm asking you to continue this proceeding so you could digest all of this and come back. And this is not we're going to amend this only if we have a valid claim for people continuing to violate his rights and violate the charter and violate Florida statute and break the law. So we're only going to amend this if we can prove in good faith in front of a jury that people have violated his rights and violated the law and are in fact liable. And what happens or doesn't happen tonight could very well be part of that because it's already named in the lawsuit. I would make one more point, and that's this. This city has wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars on these never-ending witch hunts of the commissioner, which go nowhere, and the following has occurred. There was all of these hundreds of thousands of dollars on these independent counsel claims, which are useless. There was a false allegation that he called 911, and he was charged criminally and humiliated, and that was dismissed. There was a false allegation that he made false police reports, which was slanderous. That got dismissed. One of your people, Babette Friedman, filed a lawsuit against him, and that lawsuit was recently dismissed by a federal judge and thrown out of court at the motion to dismiss claim. So I would note that the criminal allegations were thrown out. The civil lawsuit that we keep talking about by the employees was thrown out, and he is not, despite all these allegations about making threats, nobody, the police departments examined that. They found not sufficient evidence to charge him with that. And the other point I would make is, in the world of public discourse, Commissioner Jacobs was elected and is accountable to the people of the city. And I know people may not like him. They don't like what he says. They don't like the way he says it. And they may not be happy with the fact that he contacted the authorities and reported their behavior because he thought what they did was wrong. But the solution is the ballot box. They just voted for him without opposition for 4 years. He has not been recalled by the public. And for this commission to turn around and say, because they don't agree with him politically or they don't like how he does his job, what right do you have to try and have him forcibly removed from office? Because that's what happens in dictatorships. The people are elected, and if you look at what happened recently in Venezuela, somebody won the election and they won't let him take office. Now, I'm not making an analogy here, but what I am saying is that you are attempting to remove him from office, and that is anti-democratic. The solution is the ballot box. You have no right to try and abuse your power to try and remove somebody from office because you don't like what he has to say. I respectfully, and in the resolution, it is serious because you're asking the governor to take away his property rights. And this resolution is sponsored after you had him criminally charged and the case got thrown out of court as being frivolous. I would respectfully urge you to table or continue this proceedings for all the reasons outlined, and I would ask you to consult with your town attorney and your manager.
Just Mayor, Commission, good evening. And I do have some comments generally with regards to the Censure process, but a few just points I wanted to respond to given Mr. Pizzi's comment. I imagine the Commission is a little unaware with regards to the procedures that Mr. Pizzi is referencing, and there's a reason for that. At 12:02 this morning, shortly after midnight, I received an email from the mayor asking for some general procedural guidelines as to how this evening's meeting might be conducted. This morning, when I got to the office, roughly 7:30, I put together a general framework that was sent to the mayor. It was not sent to the vice mayor. It was not sent to Clerk Commissioner Kashem. It's not sent to Commissioner Jacobs. Later today, roughly, 3:30, 4 o'clock round numbers, I did send a copy to the Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins because he sponsored this item and he had some specific process, and I wanted to ensure that he had that roadmap. Again, Mr. Pizzi is correct. He did not see the procedures until he walked in here because they didn't exist until this morning. They were really intended for the mayor in an effort to have her run a smooth hearing this evening, but they do provide a general guideline and framework for censure proceedings. I just wanted to make that clear for the record that there is not a process either in the code, there's not a process in state law. This morning, when I got to the office, I put together a framework of a document to try to assist the mayor this evening in running tonight's meeting.
And I'm going to just add to that. The reason that I asked for this is because this is normally just a regular commission item that occurs. However, it was brought to my attention that Commissioner Jacobs would be having his attorney attend. Normally for regular commission meetings, we allow the public 3 minutes to speak. You have, as you are fully aware, have gone over that 3-minute mark. But because I knew that, A, he was paying you, at least I'm assuming he's paying you and not the town is paying you for you being here tonight, that he would want to have an ability to have his attorney represent him to the fullest. Secondly, this item was originally scheduled for a meeting approximately 2 months ago, if I'm not mistaken, and this meeting was put off until your first available date, which was today, which was why this meeting was occurring today instead of 2 months ago when that item was originally on the agenda. So I'm not exactly sure why there would be some misunderstanding as to that this was going on today, because you are currently here. And that's a correct statement. You're here. You knew that this item was on the agenda. This agenda was specifically made just to address the censorship that is to occur tonight based on the commissioner's actions towards his fellow commission, as well as the violation of the town's codes. And so these are the items that you've had a copy of this. The agenda was put out. You knew this 2 months in advance, and I just asked for some clarification on how to approach this, if there was anything special that I needed to do outside of what would normally happen at a normal commission meeting, so that you would have the opportunity to speak and present if you needed to, since he did retain you to come here specifically for this item. So that's all it was, is for me procedurally to know how much time to give you versus I would have cut you off at 3 minutes at 7:12 instead of at 7:30.
I mean, the problem, Mayor, is, and Mr. Attorney, is that now transparency is important in government, and I think that Mr. Gorin's correct. There may not be anything out there about what the due process is or what processes do. And I think that if the town, respectfully, Mr. Gorin, I would say this: if the town is going to continue with these type of proceedings, what should really happen is the process in terms of how you have to, what procedures, what rights people have. People, if you're going to censure somebody and request that they be removed, whatever it is, I think that there should be some process outlined in the code. And if the town attorney is going to formulate something like this, the better practice would be to place it on the agenda and notify the public in a transparent fashion, and have debate and have discussion, and have on whether or not the process is fair, and then have the mayor and the commission, with consultation from your staff and your attorney, formally adopt something like this and put it in the code, or put it in a reso stating these are going to be the procedures going forth. So my recommendation would be to table this and then put a resolution on the agenda so that the members of the public will get notice as to what you're proposing, as to what the procedures are. And then maybe the public can come forward and have a right on any other piece of legislation and say, you know what, I don't think these procedures are fair. Or more importantly, some of the members of the commission, any of you who could be subject to this next year or next month, you would have the opportunity to look at this and debate it and say, you know what, I really think we should be allowed to cross-examine witnesses or take depositions. And instead of having 12 minutes, he should get a 15-minute opening or a 5-minute opening. And I think the reason the mayor's letting me go on a little longer is because a written procedure as to how long the attorney gets to speak in an opening statement of these type of things. So my recommendation would be the following. If you're going to have public debate and discussion and publicly advertise a resolution, naming a day, whatever day it's going to be, or a resolution changing the time for the holiday party, then certainly something as serious as setting forth the first ever procedures of due process for a formal censure resolution, that's something that should go in a resolution or a discussion item and be debated amongst all of you with public comment and enacted into law, so people know what their rights are. What's happened here is the following: the mayor sent the attorney. This is we operate in the sunshine. The mayor sent it to the mayor only. So how do we know what's due process? It went to the mayor only, then it went to the commissioner only, but was never even given to the other commissioners in advance of the hearing, or the manager, or us. And I think that with great respect, and I know Mr. Goren's a fair person, I think that we think that before you go forward with these procedures, who knows if these are with all due respect, I don't think it's up to the attorney to just wake up in the morning and say, hey, off the top, here's what I think your procedure should be. I think that if you're going to have a censure process and a censure resolution, and you're going to determine what the due process should consist of, you should have a council meeting where you formally adopt and debate what the process is going to be, not just hand it out without anybody getting any other input. So for all of these reasons, I think it will be best to table this, and if you want, bring back this. I'm going to give an example from my rules of criminal procedure. Imagine going to court when somebody's life is on the line and being handed right before the hearing of the trial some new process that you weren't even aware of.
May I remind you that this is not a court?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. So you know what? I would respectfully request that this be another reason that this formally be enacted in a resolution at a public meeting before it be imposed on anybody here tonight. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is a resolution. Cynthia, was notice given an opportunity to be heard? Was there notice? Was this put on?
Yes, it was actually noticed before I even got here, which was November 25th. So this was noticed right after the last meeting, November 6th. If I'm looking correctly, it was noticed published November 12th.
Okay. So this item has been published, so due process has been satisfied as far as notice and opportunity to be heard. So with that, if the commissioners want to move forward, they can, because legally they've met the requirements of due process. Are you guys?
I would like the town attorney to read the resolution in its entirety.
Quick question. Was the censure procedures noticed? I want to make sure. They were never noticed, correct? The censure procedures. I want to make that point.
Well, that's not technically an official procedure.
Yeah, I got
Okay,
you.
I was just asking for my point of clarification for Robert's rules, because of the fact that I do chair the meeting, how I should go about actually handling the meeting, because like I said, I wanted to give you professional courtesy to allow you more opportunity to speak because of the fact that he has been retained. As far as the other items of whether or not the governor's notice and everything like that, that direction was given several months ago when this item first happened. So that's not even like a reconsideration. That's something that was already direction was already given to
It was done and voted on.
the attorney as well as to the lobbyists and everyone else, and that was done at another public meeting. So this right now is just
I
to vote
understand.
on the resolution.
The commissioner reserves all. The commissioner, we made our request to table or defer this, so you can consult in an executive session if you have to. The commissioner reserves all of his rights.
Okay. This isn't a courtroom where we have hearings like that. This is a commission. It's the way that this body runs. This is not that type of environment. This is the code of conduct is basically how we govern ourselves on this dais so that we can effectively handle our job of being commissioners and being responsive to the public and to meeting the needs of and requirements of the community of the city. It's just so that we can govern how we do business up here, which is, again, to meet the needs of the community. It's to make sure that we have roads, sewers, streetlights, things like that. The people on this dais are here to do a job. Their job is to serve the community and make sure that the needs are met. This here is just for us to regulate how we conduct ourselves and to make sure that we're actually doing our job and not being interrupted constantly by things that should not be occurring. No one on this dais took this job ran for office to be abused or bullied. Everyone took this job because they saw a need in the community, and they came up here to address those needs that they wanted to see to make this community a better place for their neighbors and for their family to grow up in. So that's what this is. This is not a courtroom. This is not a hearing. This is just for us to say, hey, enough is enough. He's not here to be threatened. I'm not here to be threatened. Nobody's up here to be threatened and bullied. We're here to meet the needs of the community. Our job as commissioners is to serve the community, to make sure that the community has what it is asking for. And we are here to do that job that we were elected, appointed, ran unopposed, or whatever to do.
I know, and obviously censuring people and trying to have them removed certainly could not be construed as bullying somebody. I understand your point.
But getting searched for a firearm, an imaginary firearm, is not something that I came up here to do. He did not come up here to be threatened with his safety as well.
None of that occurred, but that's, I understand.
Do you condone that kind?
I do know I was searched here on this dais wearing this exact same dress a year ago. And I don't know why I was searched. I still don't understand, especially when there's not a single person in this building that can tell you that they've ever known me to have a firearm, see me with a firearm, or have any knowledge of me with a firearm. But yet and still, I came to work to do items on the agenda to make my community a better place. And I had to stand here and be degraded and have been searched for a firearm. And you and I had this conversation when you deposed me about whether or not I can actually legally maneuver a firearm that I have not ever been in possession of in my 20 years of being in this community on this dais. But yet and still, I was still searched. And to clarify for
Because
the
you asked to be searched, yeah.
well, the police were called. So while you state technicalities of 911, the police were called and were told that I possessed a firearm, that I was known to carry a firearm. But yet there's no one in this building that can tell you that they've ever seen me or known me to carry a firearm.
And nobody wanted to search you. Nobody ever asked to search you.
I was asked
You wanted to be searched, yeah.
I asked to be searched, okay, but we're
Yeah,
not
you
gonna
asked to
do
be
that.
searched, yeah.
I
And now you're
was
blaming him. Yeah.
asked to be searched by the police chief, okay, just to be clear. Okay, I'm not up here to be searched. I'm up here to make sure that these kids get to school every day. I'm here to make sure that the sewer lines are running and that we don't flood. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to be searched. He's not here to be told to be threatened. Okay, I'm not here to do a job where I have people being sent to my brother's house 3,000 miles away. That's not what we are here to do. We are here to serve our community. So when you sit here and say the bullying, I don't think anyone here should be called any four-letter words. We are not here to do that. Do they do that in your office? Is that something that's done in your office? Are you familiar with that occurring in any other place of business?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm not here to answer questions. I'm not being interrogated.
But
But what I would say
But
is
you're
this.
making these statements up here.
I know,
so
but what I
you're
would
making
say,
these
but
statements
Mayor,
that-
here's what I would answer your question, though. What I would say is the
Answer
following.
that.
What I would say is the following. Just like the lawsuit got dismissed, just like the criminal charges got dismissed, you attempted to, have him prevented from coming to the meetings and
coming to my house. I don't
and
think
that
he
was
should
not-
sit outside my
and
house.
you know what?
I don't think there's any
yeah.
logical reason.
And that didn't happen. Yeah,
He
yeah.
has. And he's also
And
sat
that
outside
did
of
not
this
happen.
man's house.
That did not
And
happen.
he said it on the record that he sat outside of this man's house on numerous occasions.
Well, and what I would note, Mayor.
That's not what people are
But
coming
here's what
to
I would
do
say,
a job at.
Mayor, is there are forums, at this point, no judge, in fairness, he has never been, no police department has charged him with any of that. No judge has ever entered any orders finding that he did any of that. And he denies all of those things. And this is not the forum to litigate it. And the only reason this sounds like a courtroom is because the city has chosen to, pass these censure regulations and pass ordinances with words like due process. And then when you start doing that, when you start passing legislation where you're allowed to charge people with censure and the ordinance you pass says they're entitled to due process, that's how you get the lawyers involved. That's how it becomes a more formal. It became formal when you passed a resolution setting forth a censure procedure and saying he had a right to due process. He did not create. Right now, with all due respect, here's what you should be doing tonight. You could have spent this past hour. You could have spent this past hour helping children and seniors and the economy and doing something from the public. So let me say, instead of spending the past hour debating how you're going to help children and schools and seniors and protect the public from crimes and engage in public safety, you've just spent another hour, and you'll spend another 5 hours insulting him, criticizing him, attacking him, and then when you have left, we'll have a useless transcript of nothing but insults and attacks against him. Why don't you just cancel this and talk tonight about doing all the things you want to do that's going to help the public?
We just did that yesterday. Are you implying that we're not doing our job?
Yes, I am. You're not.
Okay. I have another thing for the record. You said that Jacobs was elected. He was appointed, and then he got appointed again because he had nobody running against him. He was never elected. He never ran a campaign or anything.
Okay. And he's a duly elected official, as he sits here tonight.
He's appointed.
I've made a request for all these reasons that you postpone this proceeding. I'd like there to be a decision on that.
This isn't a court of law. So there's no commissioner up here that's asked for this item to be tabled. That would be proper Robert's rules, and you know that as the city attorney. So again, the board is the one making the calls on this dais, and if any member of this dais has asked, no one has. I haven't heard that.
I would like to have the resolution read, please, in its entirety. That's why we're here.
May I, Mayor?
Yes, you
Just
may.
a couple general comments, and again, I know that the commission does not have the benefit of the framework roadmap that I provided to the mayor this morning. Again, it was sent directly to her. Just for the record, I want to just kind of briefly run down the process that I recommended in order to have somewhat of an orderly meeting, considering the fact that we've already deviated to some extent from that process. My recommendation was that there be some opening remarks by the mayor, followed by a brief overview of the censure proceedings by me, which I'm prepared to offer, a presentation of evidence by the commission, primarily from Clerk Commissioner Hotchkiss, as he is the sponsor of this item, as the commission is aware, along with the mayor and any other member of the commission that wanted to add anything to the resolution. And unlike typically when I would read a resolution title, my intention this evening is to read the resolution in its entirety, which was drafted with the assistance of the clerk commissioner and with some input from the mayor, who both have had some vested interest in the particular subject matter at hand. Commissioner Jacobs entitled to a full and complete opportunity to respond. Again, notice and opportunity to be heard are the two key components of due process. Tonight's meeting was properly noticed in accordance with Chapter 286, the Sunshine Law. The resolution, which sets forth the allegations and applicable law, have been provided both on the agenda as well as separately to Commissioner Jacobs through his counsel. That will set the predicate for the issues and allegations to be responded to. And again, Commissioner Jacobs, either individually or through his counsel, should be given every reasonable opportunity to respond to any comments that are made this evening, either by me as in reading the resolution or any member of the commission. Deliberation by the commission is in order, as well as public comment to the extent that anybody wanted to speak from the public specifically on the item. Commission can discuss, deliberate, debate. At that point, you can decide whether you'd like to adopt the resolution or not. With regards to continuing or tabling this evening's hearing, as the mayor indicated, that's up to the commission. I don't get to make that decision as a matter of law. The commission gets to decide whether or not it wants to hear the item tonight, although I'll tell you that it is properly before you, just from a legal perspective. One other observation, that's actually a comment I wanted to make to Mr. Pizzi. While I do have a gray beard, I've got a little more hair than my law partner, Sam Gorin. So just for the record, I'm Jacob Horowitz. Sam is my law partner.
Well, you're both great lawyers.
I appreciate the kind words, and I will also tell you, Mr. Pizzi,
You're both excellent lawyers.
the feeling is mutual. Irrespective of however this process transpires, the feeling is mutual. So thank you for that.
You're both great lawyers and do a good job in all your cities.
Thank you.
A lot of respect for you.
Thank you. Just by way of general overview, if I could, censuring a municipal official is a formal public expression of disapproval by a governing body. To be clear, it does not carry any legal or punitive consequences such as removal from office or fines. It does serve as a rebuke to the commissioner's actions or any behavior that the commission deems to be inappropriate. There is no formal process, as I said, for a public censure either in the town code or in state law. Censure is a creature of Robert's Rules. It's a parliamentary sanction under Robert's Rules of Order, and it is included among the penalties both for the Ethics Commission for violations of Chapter 112, which is the State Code of Ethics, as well as for our Code of Conduct, which is embedded in our code, which the Commission's adopted by ordinance within the past year. A couple key points. It is a symbolic action, a censure. It's primarily meant to express disapproval or condemnation. It becomes part of the public record. It does not in any way, and just be very clear about this, whatever action the commission takes tonight, it does not affect Commissioner Jacobs' position. It doesn't affect any salary he's entitled to by virtue of his elective office. It doesn't affect any authority that he may have by virtue of his elective office. It is a statement and an expression by this commission, but there's nothing this commission can do this evening that will have any financial, punitive, penal action with regards to Commissioner Jacobs. It is a public reprimand, for lack of a better word, should the commission want to move forward. Procedurally, the process typically involves a vote of the governing body, which is followed by discussion, debate, etc. Common reasons for a censure, again, there's a whole litany of them, but because there is no process described under state law, censures are generally for improper behavior, unethical behavior, violations of codes of conduct, abuse of power, conduct unbecoming a public servant. But again, the commission gets to decide what the criteria is for a public censure. Typically, as I said, when we read resolutions into the record, we read the titles of resolutions. In fact, state law, Chapter 166, requires that titles of resolutions be read into the record. This is a little unique, given the tenor of this evening's meeting and this evening's hearing. I'm going to read the resolution in its entirety. So bear with me because it lays out the facts and the allegations that Commissioner Hodgkins has raised specifically. Again, he's the sponsor of the resolution, had a hand in ensuring that it properly reflects his intent, along with the mayor, who's also had some input in the drafting. For the record, we're talking about Resolution 2024-023. It is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, approving and adopting articles of censure against Commissioner Jeffrey Jacobs, finding that Commissioner Jacobs has violated Section 2-16 of the town's Code of Ordinances, entitled the Code of Conduct for Elected and Appointed Officials, finding that Commissioner Jacobs' behavior is unacceptable and that he must maintain order, decorum, civility, and respect, publicly reprimanding the commissioner for his continued behavior and misconduct, directing the public transmittal of this resolution, along with the prior resolution of censure, relevant investigative reports, and reports of the Inspector General's office to be transmitted to the Governor's office, requesting the Governor suspend Commissioner Jacobs from office pursuant to Section 112.51 of the Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for an effective date. Whereas the Town of Pembroke Park is a municipal corporation located within Broward County, duly organized and existing under the laws of the state of Florida, and is charged with providing exceptional municipal public services to citizens and residents located within its corporate limits. Section 2-16 of the town's Code of Ordinances establishes a code of conduct for the town's elected and appointed officials, whereas the Code of Conduct provides in relevant part that all members of the Town Commission shall, 1, work to foster an atmosphere of respect and civility among colleagues on the Town Commission, town employees, and members of the public. 2, be professional and respectful in all interactions with each other, town staff, and members of the public, including oral and written interactions. 5, refrain from using profanity, intimidation, making disparaging remarks, using ad hominem attacks towards each other or towards members of the public in any setting, including but not limited to town commission meetings and on social media. Whereas notwithstanding the clear and unequivocal requirement of the Code of Conduct, and prior to the regular Town Commission meeting on October 9th, 2024, during a brief interaction between Commissioner Jacobs and Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins, Commissioner Jacobs threatened the life and home of Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins. And whereas more specifically, Commissioner Jacobs threatened Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins, stating that he would be homeless and dead soon. Whereas the interaction was just the latest in a long list of alleged offenses and violations by Commissioner Jacobs of the Code of Conduct. Whereas, as further example, Commissioner Jacobs has publicly and without merit accused commission members of being criminals, made threatening remarks towards the town's professional staff. Whereas on January 14th, 2023, the Town Commission adopted Resolution 2023-008, thereby adopting articles of censure against Commissioner Jacobs for prior violations of the Code of Conduct, directing the Commissioner to maintain order, decorum, and civility during the course of his public duties. Whereas Commissioner Jacobs has continued to violate the town's Code of Conduct and foster an environment of hostility and disharmony in the town. Whereas the actions of the commissioner during his tenure in office have resulted in multiple lawsuits and complaints with the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission filed against the town by current and former employees. Whereas the town has further engaged outside independent counsel investigators at great expense to the taxpayers of the town to conduct multiple investigations against the commissioner, resulting from human resources and personnel complaints filed against the commissioner by current and former employees, including but not limited to the Haddad-Coleman investigative report dated October 1st, 2023, and the Schutz-Callaway investigative report dated March 26, 2024. Whereas at the October 23rd, 2024 Town Commission Workshop, the Town Commission, by consensus and at the request of Clerk Commissioner Hotchkiss, authorized and directed the Town Attorney's Office to commence drafting of a resolution providing for the formal censure and public reprimand of Commissioner Jacobs for the reasons set forth herein. Whereas the Town Commission finds and publicly determines that Commissioner Jacobs has continued to violate the Code of Conduct and that Commissioner Jacobs' continued misconduct warrants a strong rebuke by and from the Town Commission. Whereas the Town Commission can only conclude that the nature, tenor, and frequency of such violations are willful and intentional on the part of the Commissioner. Whereas the Commissioner has disregarded and disrespected the Commission's prior directions set forth in Resolution 2023-008 to cease all threatening and harassing behavior, the Town Commission seeks to reaffirm and readopt that resolution. Whereas the Broward County Office of the Inspector General has recently concluded multiple investigations into the conduct of Commissioner Jacobs, published several reports detailing misconduct and misuse of public funds by the Commissioner, referenced as OIG Final Report 23-018M, dated September 5th, 2024. And whereas other members of the Town Commission, certain members of the town's professional staff, have repeatedly attempted over the years, both publicly and privately, to respectfully caution the Commissioner about his continued behavior. Whereas Commissioner Jacobs has been afforded an opportunity to publicly respond to this resolution. Whereas Commission finds that censuring Commissioner Jacobs for the repeated violations of the town's Code of Conduct is in the best interest of the citizens and residents of the town, and that the adoption of the resolution demonstrates to the citizens of the town that and its professional staff that the conduct and behavior continuously exhibited by the Commissioner is unacceptable. Whereas Section 112.51 Sub 1 of the Florida statutes authorizes the governor to suspend a municipal official for malfeasance, misfeasance, neglect of duty, habitual drunkenness, incompetence, or permanent inability to perform official duties. And whereas Florida courts have held that malfeasance is the performance of completely illegal or wrongful acts by an elected official. Whereas the Town Commission finds that the conduct of Commissioner Jacobs described herein amounts to malfeasance in office, as his behavior resulting in multiple complaints, multiple investigations, substantiating the behavior, despite the clear dictates of the town's Code of Conduct, are completely illegal or wrongful, as well as incompetence, and it appears that Commissioner Jacobs is unable to avoid violations of the town's Code of Conduct and applicable laws outlined in the investigative reports, thus warranting suspension by the governor. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park that Section 1, the aforementioned whereas clause is hereby ratified and confirmed as being true and correct and incorporated herein. All reports referenced in this resolution are expressly incorporated herein by reference and made a part hereof. Whereas Section 2, the articles of censure as detailed in the foregoing whereas clauses are hereby accepted and adopted by the Town Commission, and the Town Commission hereby finds and determines that the Commissioner has violated the town's Code of Conduct as set forth in Section 2-16 of the town's Code of Ordinances. Whereas the Town Commission hereby formally censures and publicly reprimands the Commissioner for his continued unacceptable behavior and misconduct. Further, the Town Commission finds that the Commissioner's conduct is unacceptable. He must maintain order, decorum, civility, and respect in his dealings with fellow Commission members and the town's professional staff. That a Commission directs that a copy of the resolution, along with a copy of Resolution 2023-008, copies of all relevant town investigative reports, copies of all relevant reports of the Broward County Office of Inspector General, be transmitted to the governor for review, and further requesting the governor to suspend Commissioner Jacobs from office for malfeasance pursuant to Section 112.51, whereas all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith be in the same repealed, provides for severability, and provides for an effective date. Mayor Commission, my office drafted this resolution with the input of several members of the commission. The intent is to reflect your intentions, right? The city attorney's office, town attorney's office doesn't have a dog in the fight, as they say. We want to make sure that the commission's intentions are clearly articulated. The resolution sets forth the facts and applicable code provisions with regards to the issues and allegations detailed this evening. I'll be happy to answer any questions as it relates to the process. With that aside, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you, and I would, again, based on the rules of the road that I previously offered just in conducting the meeting, I would suggest that Commissioner Hodgkins, as the sponsor of the item, followed by the mayor and the other member of the commissions, be able to weigh in, followed by a full and complete opportunity for Commissioner Jacobs, either individually or through his counsel, to be able to respond to the resolution its entirety or any of the allegations set forth therein. Thank you, Mayor.
Would you like to sit down, Mr. Peasy?
No.
All right. So until such a time that Commissioner Jacobs sees fit to act politely, courteously, and respectful towards the members of this commission and our town employees, this type of action against him will have to keep continuing until there's no end. It seems like there's none of us here who wishes. There's none of us here who wish to do this stuff. It's bought on by Commissioner Jacobs. We didn't commence any of this. We didn't begin it. It didn't come from us. It came directly from him. If we behaved in such a manner, our code is very clear on how to behave and how to treat each other up here, as well as others. And you should treat people with respect no matter where you are, not just up here. But he's a victim of his own folly. He seems to continually want to do this and can't seem to keep the rhetoric down. So I'm for moving forwards. So.
May I ask you a question? In terms of due process, Commissioner Hodgkins, have you discussed this matter or with the mayor or any of the other commissioners prior to the hearing tonight?
No.
On the night where you allege that he made a threat against you,
There is no allege. It happened.
okay,
And I went immediately to the chief of police, and I had him stand up and hear what he said to me, and it was fresh in my mind, and I repeated it to him,
here's my
the
question.
chief of police,
I understand.
and that's all I have to say about it.
My question is this, Commissioner, was that tape recorded? Is that was that,
I believe it's against the law to tape record somebody, isn't it?
okay?
Without their permission.
So other than your word, what evidence do you have that happened?
Other than my word?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened.
Were there any witnesses?
Video? No sound, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? That kind of doesn't help. When
Well, do you want to force the
judging
town to get a
comments.
lip reader in here?
Okay, so let me just say this. So I'm not going to. I think just briefly one question, and that is the following: other than your uncorroborated statement, that comment was made, there's no audio.
I have no idea.
There were no witnesses.
Could be.
But as we
Our tech person isn't here, so I can't ask.
So let me ask this question then, since we're going forward tonight, since we're going to vote on this tonight. Can you point to, as we sit here tonight before you vote, before the commission is asked to vote on the veracity of your statement, other than your word that this was said by Commissioner Jacobs, please tell the commission and everybody here what evidence, anything, that you have that he did that other than your word?
I don't know if anyone else was listening or not. I didn't go around and take a consensus of who was listening and who wasn't.
And in fact, so the answer is you have no evidence. But in fact,
I said I have no idea if there is any,
okay, well,
is what I said.
so let me ask you this question then.
I'm gonna stop you for 1 second, because this is not a courtroom.
Yeah,
He does
I'm
not have a
done.
lawyer here to sit here and say badgering the witness,
Badgering the
objection,
witness.
or anything to that effect. He does not have that.
So
He is,
when are
hold
we
on,
gonna get the
stop, I still
evidence?
have the floor. And that's the issue that we keep having, and I guess he gets it from you, is that.
That's unprofessional,
I
and
mean,
that's
but
inappropriate.
when I have the floor, you are a city manager, you are a city attorney for several
don't-
cities.
please don't-
allow
please
me
don't insult
as
me.
the mayor
But don't
to
insult me.
have the floor. You
maybe
have
you'll
to
get
give
censured.
us,
Good, yeah.
you have to, I'm the mayor. My job is to sit here and control the
insult
flow of
people,
things. But the problem that we're having right now is he is here, he is entitled to express himself. We do not come up here to be badgered. We do not come here to be assaulted. We do not come here to be bullied. He is trying to answer your question, but you are treating him like he is in a courtroom on a witness stand right now. And that's not fair to him. He does not have a lawyer here.
I understand. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, if he got that impression.
What you should be sorry for is that your client has a tendency
Yeah,
to
and-
open his mouth and put his foot in it.
And you're not going to get censured for that. But let me just say this. My question to the attorney is this. To Mr. Horowitz, who's, after Mr. Gorin's, the best in the business. My question to your outstanding attorney is the following. The person presenting the evidence, the Honorable Commissioner Hodgkins, just stated that he doesn't, other than his word, he doesn't know right now tonight if there's any other evidence. So my question, Mr. Attorney, is this.
No, I said I didn't know if there was any other person who overheard the conversation.
Oh, okay. So my question, Mr. Attorney, is this. Are you saying, Mr. Attorney, that we're going to go forward and pass this tonight without doing an investigation to find out if there were other witnesses? Just a question to the attorney.
I think the resolution speaks for itself. I think the commission gets to decide whether or not we will proceed this evening, given all of the facts within I respect what you're saying, Mr. Pizzi. I think the commission gets to decide based on the evidence presented, testimony that's be heard this evening, whether or not we'll move forward.
And Madam Mayor, I just want to say, I am not, in fact, I do not, I have great respect for everybody serving in public office. I've served in public office as a mayor and a commissioner, town attorney, and I think that no public servant, I'm not attempting to badger anybody or interrupt anybody. We're in a little bit of uncharted waters because I have a client who's facing a censure proceeding that, among other things, asked the governor to remove him from office. And I'm here under these unique proceedings to try and give my client the type of due process I would give any client. So my intent, Madam Mayor, is not to harass anybody or disrespect or badger anybody. I haven't done that in 30 years, and I would never do that. I'm simply trying to give my client the minimum due process that I think any public official, including yourself, would want. That's all.
Mr. Pizzi, may I ask you something?
Sure.
Don't you think people have a right to live a good life without violence or threat thereof, whether they're in public office or they're civil or residents out there? This is not a way that we should use violence or threat thereof to intimidate other people to get our way of opinion brought forward. I believe that everybody has a right to feel safe. And if Mr. Hutchins did not feel safe, you know what? I can vouch for his credibility.
Let me answer it this way, respectful. I don't think that anybody, any human being, whether they're the governor, the president, the mayor, or anybody, no human being should ever be the victim of any type of violence or.
Thank you. We could move on.
But let me finish. I'm answering. Let me finish. I'm answering your question. Or feel unsafe. My point is this: I think, and I know the mayor would share this as well, and Mr. Horowitz as well. I think that if we're going to accuse somebody of engaging in violence or threats of violence, which is the most serious thing you could do to destroy somebody's reputation, I think that they should be presumed innocent under the American system of justice and get an opportunity to defend themselves. My concern, Commissioner, is the following. He is presumed innocent of all of this and denies this ever happened, and I believe him.
Why didn't he deny it the night of it happened?
Yeah, and I think it's unfair.
Okay, we're not going to go back and forth.
Okay, I would ask the question.
We're not going to go back and forth.
Okay.
Your question is, what exactly is your question?
I was asked by Commissioner Morissette if I thought that people should not be subjected to violence, and what I said was nobody should ever be subjected to or be involved in violence. But my point is that Mr. Jacobs and any human being accused of threats of violence is presumed innocent, and because that's such a serious allegation, he should be given a chance to defend himself. And right now, based upon the record, Mayor, we're going forward with the vote, judge, jury, and executioner, without even investigating or giving him a chance to defend it. That didn't even happen. That's my point, Mayor.
He's had months to
Okay.
up and say something about it, but he hasn't.
Bill, let Bill finish, and then I'll give you the floor. Go ahead, Bill.
As I said, he's had months to come up and say something, why he would say something like that, or say that he didn't say it, but he said nothing.
Well, Madam, what I'm going to do, Mayor, too.
Okay, hold on,
I'm
I'm
going to
sorry.
wait. I'm saying, I want to wait till it's my turn. I'm not going to speak again until it's my turn in the process. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, that's,
You just interrupted me.
you're,
No,
you-
I'm making that point, yeah. I'll wait. I'm not going to respond to anybody until it's my turn.
After I brought attention to it from the police department, he got up and walked out the door and said absolutely nothing. If he was supposedly innocent, he would have defended himself, as I would if somebody accused me of something. I would stand and defend myself until the day I died. I wouldn't get up and run away.
okay. All right, thank you, Commissioner Hodgkin.
Now, can we move on, please?
Yeah, just
I'm
one
tired of this.
one comment here. Mr. Jacobs have expressed to me that he's been threatened at his home, and that's unacceptable. So, of all people, he should understand that threatening other people is not right. He deserves the same protection, and so does Mr. Hodgkins, under the law, to be free of those kind of threats.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll motion to move forward with the censoring.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, he gets a percent of response, right?
I would just offer two things, but before the commission were to consider any action, that Mr. Jacobs, Commissioner Jacobs, through his counsel or individually, be given an opportunity to respond to the resolution, should he choose to do so.
There's more responses?
I would want to confirm that there's not.
I thought we were responding this whole time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
need a couple of minutes to respond.
And then I would also just, before the commission votes, I'd recommend opening up public comment one more time.
Well, I did public
I would
comments
like
originally
to,
Yeah,
at the beginning.
is this our response?
Want to do a second public comments?
I would open it up one more time.
Okay.
for you. But
Well, you let me know when I can respond, that's well.
if the mayor is prepared, I mean, I'd give them an opportunity to respond before the commission takes any action.
Go ahead.
I'd like to call the police chief. Mr. Police Chief, could you come up, please? Could you state your name for the record?
Daniel DeCourcy.
Okay, good evening, Chief. Just briefly.
Want to speak into the microphone?
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Chief, just briefly, as we sit here today, before we vote on the censure, Commissioner Jacobs has not been arrested or charged by you or your department with any crime in connection with the allegation that was just mentioned, correct?
No, he's not.
And have you referred the matter to the state attorney's office?
No, we have not.
Okay,
We
so.
took a police report.
Okay, so, and other than the statement of Commissioner Hodges, was any other video, excuse me? Was any other corroborating witnesses or audio presented other than Mr. Hodgkin's statement that this occurred?
No, we had no video, I'm sorry, we had no audio, and I did not find any corroborating witnesses.
Did you interview Mr. Jacobs?
No, I did not.
Okay. Okay.
He
well-
told me to speak with his attorney.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate it, Chief,
Okay.
and thank you. So the point number one I would make is that, you know, and I'm going to be brief because I think we know where this is headed, but I'm going to be brief. And that is that, but I want to make an important point. You know, I've spent a lifetime with a lot of people, police officers, public officials, who were publicly accused. You know, the other day, there was a commissioner in the city of Miami, Commissioner Alex Diaz, who was arrested and accused of all sorts of horrible things. And a year later, they dismissed the entire case because they found there was no evidence to sustain the charge. A lot of people have been accused of not just threatening violence, but of engaging in violence. And a lot of us have spent a lifetime having those people go to trial and explore the evidence and get the case dismissed because they found out that it was wrong. There have been people in this country sentenced to the death penalty and then they were exonerated. It turned out not to be true. You just heard your police chief say that, who's an excellent police chief, you have an excellent city manager, great attorneys, and your police chief said the following, that after investigating the entire matter, he did not arrest or accuse Commissioner Jacobs of a crime, and he did not even contact the state attorney's office to report a threat of violence. So my point would be twofold. Number one, the last time Mr. Jacobs was accused of falsely calling 911 and making a police report, after a year of humiliation, the case got dismissed. There was this lawsuit on the front page of the paper by Babette. It got dismissed. And in this particular case, the police chief has just told you, he's your chief law enforcement officer. He would never allow anybody to commit a crime without charging them. And your police chief has just testified to the following. After a full and complete investigation, not only did he not charge Commissioner Jacobs with a crime, but your chief did not even deem it worthy of calling the state attorney's office. And
I would really object to that statement,
Yeah.
because that's ridiculous.
The other thing here,
Say he didn't say that he didn't deem it
Horowitz.
necessary.
is it my turn to?
no, listen, and your client did not cooperate with the police.
Your client is the one just told him,
Okay.
just blew him off and said, "Call my attorney," is what he said.
Okay, well, God.
So he didn't defend himself whatsoever.
Well, let me say this. I would say this. Thank God, in our country, there are things called the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, and people have a right to counsel when they're accused of crimes. He was already accused of 2 crimes for which he could have been incarcerated for, which were found to be totally meritless and frivolous. Of course, he called his attorney at that. But so I want to move. So if it's not sufficient to charge him or call the state attorney, then it's certainly not sufficient to form the basis of a censure resolution calling for him to be referred to the governor. And the problem with this resolution is this, Mr. Horowitz, it's all or nothing. Meaning the point is there's going to be no record made tonight. When this goes to the governor, asking the governor to remove him, there's going to be no record tonight as to which of these allegations they found to be true and which didn't form the basis. We're not going to know in the minds of the commissioners whether they're voting based on which specific allegation, which in my opinion violates, it's unconstitutionally vague and violates his rights. The second point I would make is just briefly going through this, and if I could just get through this, I'll make a couple of the points. One is that first, every time he's been accused of something, it's been found not to be true. The second point I would make is my understanding.
Well, I'm going to stop you for that one because you keep making all these inaccurate statements here. It was not found to be true. So when he made the calls, like for me, stating that there was, that he was in fear of his life, but yet I've never done anything to him and he's the one who's been sitting outside of my house. Yeah. That was not true. When he said that I stole money, that was not true. When he made all of these statements, you keep making these statements and these statements are not true, but yet he's the one saying it. When you keep sitting here saying that you're defending him against me for my misconduct, maltreatment, mistreatment, theft, all of this stuff. Where's the truth in that? Because you keep making these statements here like everything he's saying is true and everything that we're doing is false. When I had the call for the firearm, I was guilty until innocent, which was why I had to be searched on the record to prove that I did not have a firearm. But he stated that there was a firearm, that I'm known to carry a firearm, but yet I haven't owned a firearm in over 30 some years. So where's the truth in what you're stating and where's the lie? Because you seem to keep mixing them up. Okay, so
the worst part of all of this is that the gentleman doesn't even know how to apologize for something.
Right,
if he had to apologize, none of us would be here.
Right. Well, when I'm allowed to finish, I'll let me know.
I mean, I kind of want to know where we are with this because, like, the resolution was written by our city attorney. We're taking faith and trusting our city attorney to do his job, and that this is what a censorship looks like, and that the facts are stated clearly
So
in
the
here.
city attorney is recommending a vote on this censorship?
No, he doesn't recommend anything.
The city attorney, he just drafts it.
I'm following the direction of the commission.
We gave input on what we would like to see in the censorship based on the commissioner's actions and how they violate the decorum. That's our job, is to sit here to regulate what's being done before this commission and how to govern ourselves accordingly. And what we're able to accept and put up with on this dais, from what we're not. And this is that public rebuke to say, please stop threatening this man's life in his home.
It never happened. Yeah.
Okay.
As you state, but I also never had a firearm.
You
right?
know, were you
But
there?
yeah, he stated I did. So
You
I mean,
there, sir?
These are the things that keep occurring.
Were you there, sir?
Yeah, sir,
Wait a minute. You're saying that it never happened. Were you there?
sir, please don't yell at me, please.
Well, look, I don't like the rhetoric that's coming out of you.
I'm sorry. Well, please don't yell at me.
So
Well, your 3 minutes are up.
Okay. Okay, so, Mr. Horowitz, I think it's clear that I've been cut off. My time is up, so the commission's going to vote and do what they're going to do. The record is what the record is.
well, we're allowing you the opportunity to speak. This meeting has gone on for an hour and 20 minutes already.
But we haven't cut you off.
We have not cut you off. I mean, you spent probably 30, 40 minutes on just procedures and not actually on the gist of what we're here for, which is the public censorship and what it states. You spent all this time doing that and not actually addressing what was in the censorship and the resolution.
Be happy to do that.
But you're attacking the clerk commissioner on what was said to
I'm
him
not attacking
and what his
anybody. I'm not
treatment was
attacking anybody.
and what his fear is. And you're using the exact same, like the exact argument against him that you used on me. So it's kind of funny to sit here and hear that you're saying this. He experienced the threats from the commissioner. This is what this is about, but it's not only about that. It's about the totality of all of the actions of the commissioner and all the costs that's associated to the town and the taxpayers for this behavior. When you have Babette Friedman's lawsuit, Melissa Anderson's lawsuit, you had Agatha Muse-Salter's lawsuit.
I'd like 2
There are
minutes
so
to
many.
conclude.
Stop. I have the floor.
Sure.
When you have all of these lawsuits, and this is taxpayers' money that we're responsible for. This is taxpayers' money that's going out the window based on the actions of someone, and that's not their job. You keep saying he's elected. Well, he's elected to serve as a commissioner. What is his job? His job is to set the budget. His job is to make sure that the city is safe. And we're not safe on this dais. We're all in fear of our lives sitting on this dais, coming to work every day because we don't know what we're going to be subjected to next.
Yeah, I'd like a couple
Okay,
minutes
so
to
this
summarize, Mr. Horowitz.
this is why we are here tonight. Because of the fact that this commission does not feel safe based on the actions of a commissioner. Nobody signed up for this in any job to be abused by another commissioner. No one signed up for this job where we were going to be threatened, have people sitting outside of our houses. That's not what we're here to do. We are here to do a job, which is to represent our community to the best of its ability. Make sure that we're being fiscally sound and responsible. That is not occurring. Every other month, there is a disruption on this dais that's keeping us from getting to the people's business, which is what we were elected to do, which is what we are paid to do. And we are trying to do that and move forward and stop this type of behavior.
I'd like a couple of minutes to conclude, counsel, if I may.
Again, the mayor is chairing the meeting. I certainly
So
would encourage.
I'm not going to get a chance to conclude and summarize why I disagree with what's in the resolution.
Again, I would defer to the mayor.
I'd like to be able to conclude.
Go ahead and conclude.
This resolution is a pack of lies and is completely false front to back and is part of a never-ending witch hunt against Commissioner Jacobs because he has reported what he believes to be corruption and misconduct on the part of the mayor and some commissioners, and they've retaliated against him by relentlessly smearing him and harming him and trying to have him removed from office. So this entire process and this censure resolution is nothing more than a never-ending witch hunt. It's a pack of lies, it's a pack of garbage, and this censure resolution should be thrown in the garbage pail because it's lies, it's not true, and it's part of a witch hunt against him to punish him because he has attempted to expose corruption and inappropriate conduct on the part of the mayor and multiple other city officials. In conclusion, let me say this. Every single time one of these baseless, ridiculous, false accusations has been brought to an appropriate forum, every time one of these false, slanderous accusations has been brought in a court of law, to the state attorney's office, to the police, it's been found to be utterly and completely false and baseless. Every allegation made by this body has been found to be not true and to be baseless. Commissioner Jacobs denies all of these allegations. He thinks it's retaliation for his exercise of his First Amendment rights, and because he's heroically stood up to fight for the people against corruption in the town. And at this point, we will take this into the appropriate court of law and the appropriate form. And we appreciate the opportunity to appear in front of you and be heard. Thank you.
Mr. PC, do you have any evidence of corruption?
Sir, I
But you
stand by
just
my record.
postulated there was corruption here. There's any evidence, any judgments?
I think the record is replete, and I would note Mr. Jacobs has reported, Mr. Jacobs has made multiple
He has threatened us
complaints.
all here on the dais that he was going to send us all to jail, and you just go look at the tapes.
Well,
It's all a public record.
Well-
There's nobody's making this up.
But he has, well, you know what? If people have engaged in illegal acts, and he has a right to report them. And I would end by this: he has on multiple occasions reported this commission and its actions to law enforcement, the Attorney General, on many, many, many occasions, and that record is abundantly clear. Abundantly clear.
But no evidence.
No, he has presented evidence.
So he hasn't submitted it, right?
He's filed probably a dozen or so reports with the appropriate enforcement authorities with evidence and asked them to take official action. And if he made comments that he thinks that there's corruption going on here, then he has a right to say that.
It's to speak up, but he also needs to prove it.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, so let the record reflect that Commissioner Jacobs denies the allegations, and with that, if there's nothing else, then we're going to call the roll.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yes.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem is not present. Commissioner Jacobs?
I think it's in my best interest to abstain. I'll submit the paperwork tomorrow if you could email it to me.
No problem.
Vice Mayor Morissette?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
With that, there is nothing else. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Or is there any comments? I'll start with attorneys.
No,
There's comments.
I'm just kind of appalled that a well-known attorney in town would come up there and actually just lie to our faces and give us all kinds of.
Madam Mayor.
So anyway, so that's
Appropriate, Madam,
that's all
please.
I have to say about it.
Mr. PC,
Birds of a feather.
Mr. PC, if you and I didn't see eye to eye, how would you feel if I, let's say, just spent some hours outside your car, outside your house in my car? Would you feel threatened, or would you think that is perfectly good and normal?
None of that happened, and I think that this is...
So you wouldn't be happy with it, no?
None of that happened, sir, and I'm not here to answer questions. Mr. Jacobs did not commit any of these acts. These are all false allegations, and he denies that this occurred because it did not occur.
And the moon will never come out again.
I'm just
Sure.
happy I have surveillance cameras around my house.
So, Mr. Jacob, are we going to spend the night with people making these extraneous, insulting comments? Is that...
Mr. Pizzi, the mayor is running the meeting, Mr. Pizzi.
I did afford you the opportunity to speak, even though there were lots of malicious statements that were thrown this way yet again, with everything that was said, with the fact that you keep stating that your client is exercising his right for speaking out on corruption. But yet again, as you stated, there's been no charges filed. There's been no investigations. There's been no police reports against any of these commissioners on this dais on this side regarding those allegations of corruptions and theft and all of those other things that you stated. So if it's not being done for one and then the other commissioners, but yet you're stating that he's exercising his whistleblowing status, even though there have been, again, no investigations, no charges, no anything.
There is about $35,000 in misuse of the town credit card by Mr. Jacobs, but we're looking into that. But
Okay, so yeah, so I mean, you can't do one without doing for the other. So I think it's fair that the commissioners do have the right to defend themselves when those allegations are made, as well as your client. Since your client is making those allegations, then I think it's fair for the other commissioners to also state the same thing. And we do have proof when he stated on the record in the very first meeting in April, that he sat outside of Commissioner Hodgkin's house at 2 different times, if I'm not mistaken, when he had his tooth pulled.
And he admitted it here on the.
And so that's not a false statement.
What I would say, he has filed a federal lawsuit where we can take depositions, and we could.
We look forward to those depositions.
Yeah, so
we really do. I can't wait to see you again for another deposition.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, you yourself, Mayor, and the town are being sued for $2 million
For false allegations, yet again.
by Mr. Jacobs, and I think that Commissioner Jacobs is suing you and suing the city for $2 million, and at some point, hopefully, that will go in front of a jury of our peers, and they could make the appropriate determination as to what's right and what's wrong. But I really don't think, Madam Mayor, that me, continuing this tonight's going to get us anywhere. I think that we should address it in the appropriate forum, and we'll see where that goes.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in court, sir. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Have a good evening. And by the way, everybody in the great town of Pembroke Park, have a wonderful holiday season. I wish everybody a good holiday, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
You, sir.
Are there any other comments?
No, Mayor, I've said enough. Thank you.
All right. Well, I do want to thank this commission for coming out here and accommodating Mr. Pizzi by having to have this item rescheduled to meet his schedule. It's been a long time in the making for this. I do hope that Commissioner Jacobs will take heed to what was said tonight and adjust his action accordingly, due to the fact that everyone on this dais is tired. Enough is enough. Nobody's here to be abused. We're here to do a job, which is to serve our community. And we really do need to govern ourselves accordingly. So I would appreciate and hope that the new year will bring a better year where we can work together for the betterment of this community. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:33.